Hello everyone. So in this video I'll be discussing about the control and coordination in plants. So we know that there are different movements in plants. Plants display different movements. Plants may not show locomotion. Locomotion means moving from one place to another. Plants may not show locomotion, but plants show different types of movements, like growth movements may be there. The plant is growing in size. So all these are the different types of movements in plants. But to say that plants do not show locomotion is actually biologically incorrect, because when we say plant, we also include microscopic algae which can show locomotion. For example, Chlamydomonas. So Chlamydomonas is a microscopic algae which can show locomotion, but that can be taken as an exception. Most of the plants, they do not show locomotion, but they do show different kind of movements. Now plants, what happens is that they do not have a nervous system like it is present in the animal. So all the control and coordination in plants is actually carried out by different hormones which are called phytohormones. So we'll be discussing the hormones later on. First, let us see what are the different kinds of movements in plants. Actually, the classification of movements in plants is quite complex. So if we overall generalize it, we can generalize the movements in plants as non-growth movements and growth movements. Non-growth movement are those movements which does not involve any kind of growth of the plant. Okay, for example, like the sunflower following the path of the sun, or closing of the leaf. For example, you know about touch me not. The scientific name of touch me not is Mimosa pudica. So there's the touch me not plant or the chuimui plant. So if you touch that touch me not plant, all the leaflets initially, so actually this whole thing of a touch me not plant, so actually you should know that these are not leaves, these are leaflets. This whole thing is the leaf. So these are the leaflets. So initially if you give a very soft touch, what happens? Only the leaflets will close instantly, and if you touch it more vigorously, what happens? The entire leaf, right from this portion, it will droop. Okay, it was in its position like this, it will simply droop out. Now why it happens? Because when it experiences the stimulus of touch, there is a hormone which is released which is called terjorin. Now terjorin controls the osmotic balance. So from the tip of from the base of these leaflets, the cells will rapidly lose water. So you know that water helps in maintaining the turgidity of the cells. So all the leaves and the leaflets are held in their position due to presence of water inside the cell. So due to that hormone, the membrane will become permeable, the cells will rapidly lose water, and when they will lose water at the base of the leaflet and at the base of the leaf, the entire leaf will droop. So that is how the leaves they close in case of touch me not plant. So that is an example of non-growth movement. Now coming to growth movements are associated with growth of the plant parts. They can be of two types. One is non-directional growth movement, another one is directional or tropic movements. Non-directional growth movements, for example, they do not occur in the direction of any stimulus, specific stimulus. For example, suppose there is a small leaf. When the leaf will grow in size, it is growing in all possible direction. It is not growing in a particular direction. Similarly, not towards any stimulus. Similarly, a stem. Suppose when a stem becomes thick, so it grows in all possible directions. So it is not directed towards a stimulus. So such kind of growth movements are called non-directional growth movements. Both non-growth movements and non-directional growth movements in some literature, biological literature, has been termed as Nastic movement. And the directional growth movements, that means the growth movements which are associated towards a particular stimulus, are also called tropic movements. So the different tropic movements that we will be discussing is phototropism, hydrotropism, geotropism, chemotropism, and thigmotropism. So what is phototropism? Phototropism This is the definition. It is the directional growth response of plants towards the stimulus of towards the stimulus of light. How it can be demonstrated? We take a pot plant, keep that pot plant in a dark room and allow light to come from one direction. Now, when light comes from one direction, after few days we will find that the plant bends and starts growing towards the stimulus of light or towards the direction of light. That is called phototropism. Next is geotropism. It is the directional growth response of plants towards the stimulus of gravity. How can we demonstrate it? Take a pot plant, keep it horizontally. After few days you will find that the shoot bends and it starts growing in a vertically upward position. You slowly take out the plant and observe the root. You will find that not only the shoot has grown vertically upward, even the main root has bent and it has grown vertically downward. So we can say that the shoot is positively phototropic because it is growing towards light, and negatively geotropic because it is growing against gravity, whereas root, it is negatively phototropic growing against light and positively geotropic, that means growing towards gravity. Now why root grows towards gravity we will come to know in hydrotropism. Hydrotropism is what? It is the directional growth response of plants towards the stimulus of water. To demonstrate it, we will perform this activity. We take a sieve tray and we fill it with sawdust, kathar guri. So we fill it with sawdust and put some germinating seeds. So the root of the seeds will slowly grow and come out of the sieve, the mesh. The holes in the mesh is there, so through those holes the root will come out. Now what we do, we moisten the sawdust. We make the sawdust moist. We will find that the roots will make a U-turn and re-enter, not instantly, after few days the roots will make a U-turn and it will re-enter into the sawdust. So this shows that the roots much against gravity, so that this shows that roots are more hydrotropic than geotropic, more hydrotropic than geotropic. So actually the roots are showing geotropism because they are going downward in search of water. So these are the three types of tropic movement. The two other that we have, one is your chemotropism. So what is chemotropism? It is the directional growth response. So this term is very essential, directional growth response. It is because it is directed towards the stimulus. It is the directional growth response of plants towards the stimulus of chemicals. So where we can see it, this is the female reproductive part of the flower, which is called your pistil or carpel. So in a pistil or carpel we have three parts: ovary, there is the style, and there is the stigma. So stigma, style and ovary. Inside the ovary there is the female gamete, which is the ovule. So when the pollen grains, so these are pollen grains. So when pollen grains they fall on the stigma, there is the stigma. So in response to the pollen grains, some chemicals are secreted from the ovary, and in response to those chemicals, from the pollen grain a tube will start growing, which is the pollen tube, and this pollen tube will be directed towards the ovary. So this directional growth of pollen tube towards the ovary is an example of chemotropism. Next we come to thigmotropism. Thigmotropism, it is the directional growth response of plants towards the stimulus of touch. Where we can see it in case of climbers, we can find that suppose this is a mechanical support. So there is a mechanical support. So suppose there is the mechanical support, there is the plant. So the plant, wherever it will touch the mechanical support, it will start coiling around that plant. So coiling around that support. So that is the example of thigmotropism. Thigmo means touch. So all these actually growth responses and other responses of plants are controlled by different hormones. They are flowering, they are fruiting, dormancy. Dormancy means when the seed does not germinate, breaking out dormancy. All these things are controlled by plant hormones. So plant hormones, there are 5 types of plant hormones, main 5 types. First one is auxins. Now you should remember that auxins, gibberellins and cytokinins, these are not single hormone, but these are groups of chemicals which show similar kind of effect, and therefore they are grouped together as auxins, gibberellins and cytokinins. So auxins, this group of hormones, they help in cell elongation. So these three are actually growth promoting hormones. And how they promote growth? Auxins and gibberellins, they will promote growth by helping in cell elongation. Suppose a new cell has been formed, so the growth of that cell, the elongation of that cell is carried out by these two hormones. But where they are secreted, auxins are mostly secreted at the tip portion, root tip, shoot tip. At the tip portion you'll find most of the auxins been secreted. Next is gibberellins. Gibberellins also help in cell elongation, so they will also help in plant growth, but they are secreted in the internodal portion. You know the internodes, nodes and internodes. Suppose there is the stem, these are the nodes, so this portion is the internode. So in the internodal portion, this hormone is secreted, gibberellins, and these hormones will help in elongation of the internodes. They also help in the process of flowering, opening of the bud and all. Next is cytokinin. Cytokinins, cyto means cell, kinin comes from the word kinesis, which means division. So they will also help in plant growth. How? They will help in increasing the cell number. Suppose one cell will divide to form 2, 2 will divide to form 4. So this increase in the cell number is carried out by cytokinins. So altogether, auxins, gibberellins and cytokinins, they are called plant growth hormones because they are helping in the growth of the plants. And next is abscisic acid. Abscisic acid causes two processes. One is called senescence, another one is called abscission. Senescence is the process of aging. For example, leaves, you know, when the leaves will mature, after maturing they will age out, they become yellowish. So that aging of process is caused by abscisic acid. They actually reduce the growth rate, and they do not promote the growth, they reverse the growth process, they cause aging. And next is abscission. You know that after the leaves become yellow or the fruits after they ripen, they fall off, and that falling off is caused by abscisic acid. How it does it? Suppose there is a branch or a stem, there is a leaf which is attached to it. A leaf always falls from this point, it will not fall from half a position. So when time comes, due to this abscisic acid, the cells which are found here, so that cells are bonded to each other by some cementing material. So what this hormone will do, it will loosen that cementing material, and so the leaf or the fruit will fall off. So falling off process is called abscission, aging is called senescence. So abscisic acid causes these two processes. Next is ethene or ethylene. This is the only gaseous plant hormone. This hormone brings about the ripening process of the fruits. They help in converting the complex carbohydrate into sugar so that the fruits become sweet. They'll make the cells loose so that the fruit becomes soft. So all this is carried out by this particular hormone, ethene, or the other name is ethylene. This hormone is also used for artificial ripening of fruits, because you see some fruits like banana and all, you cannot wait for the banana to ripen in the plant and then harvest it and bring it to market, because the shelf life is very less, the banana will get spoiled. So what is done, they are harvested in the raw condition, and whenever there is market demand, overnight some chemicals are applied in solution form, and from those chemicals, actually that chemical is called calcium carbide, and from that chemical this particular gas is released, and with the help of that gas the fruits will ripen and they can be brought to the market. So these are the different hormones. Now we will try to understand this bending process of the leaf, the stem bending towards the sunlight with the help of auxin hormone. So what particularly auxin does, it helps in cell elongation. So suppose there is a stem, and suppose light is falling from one direction. So generally auxin, when it is secreted uniformly, but when light falls auxins move away from sunlight, and there will be more auxin concentration on the shadier side. So there's the light side or the lighted side, there's the shadier side or the shady side. So when there will be more concentration of auxin here, what will happen? The cells which are on the shadier side, they will elongate more. Suppose light is falling from this side and this is the shadier side. So when the cells on this side will elongate more, then what will happen? They simply cannot elongate like this because the cells are attached with each other. So when they will try to elongate, it will cause a turning or a bending effect, and therefore the stem will bend towards the light. So when these cells will elongate, it is attached with these cells which will elongate less due to less auxin, and ultimately the stem will bend towards sunlight. So this is how the bending of stem occurs towards sunlight. So I hope the control coordination in plants is clear to you with the help of this video. In the next video, I'll be discussing about the endocrine system or the hormonal system in case of human beings. Thank you.